of course, you can just eat them as they are, but you can also make a little sandwich. So what we've done is made 2 batches of buttercream. This is a very simple buttercream, which is a mixture of confectioner's sugar, butter, and whatever flavor you want to use. And in fact, for this, which is a coffee buttercream, don't be afraid. You can use freeze-dried coffee. You just want to, I like to dissolve it in a little vanilla first so that you don't get granules in your buttercream, but you do get a wonderful, rich coffee flavor with that. You can even use decaf if you have to. It's really, really easy to fill a yo-yo. I'm using a spoon, and you don't have to be careful. You don't need to spread it. Now, I've got my cookie, and basically I just put a little on the edge of the cookie. And notice, I mean, you don't have to worry about spreading it out to the edge. You just lay the sandwich on top, and you've got nice, even coverage. So you don't have to fuss with it. This is a lemon buttercream. Gives you a whole different flavor. So you bake one kind of cookie, and you can make many different kinds of sandwiches with it. So there it is, like not even half filled. You just lay that down, and you've got a sandwich. So there you go, and that's why they call them yo-yos, because it looks like a yo-yo. Ta-da! So we're ready to mix up the almond cookie. Now, is this a very different method of mixing than the yo-yo?
No, this is still the creaming method. The only thing that's really different about this recipe is that it has eggs in it, which doesn't make it a shortbread cookie. It gives you a more cake-like texture, softer. And that's a good thing to remember. Okay, I need 3/4 cup of butter at room temperature.
So you need 1
1.5
and a half sticks.
I need 2/3 cup of sugar. Thank you. And I need 8 ounces of almond paste. Now this is almond paste, and you see it's this is really like Play-Doh.
And it's got a really kind of soft, clay-like texture. So you're creaming the butter, the sugar, and the almond paste all together.
And you can see, oh, it's nice and soft, and everything is just where it ought to be.
Now this is, we have the eggs now, right?
Yes.
We also have 2 teaspoons of almond extract added to the eggs. It's just a little easier when you're incorporating liquids. It saves a step. You can run into problems if you try to add both of your eggs or all of your eggs at the same time. Your batter can kind of curdle.
It's been beaten the way it should be, but it looks a little lumpy.
But is that a problem?
No, it's not a problem. The almond paste isn't going to get as smooth as you might like it to get. We now have 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour.
Yes.
Yes. And you've got 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder in
Yes.
there. Okay.
Oh, 1/4 teaspoon salt. Salt does a lot of things. It's an amplifier. It helps you with flavor. Also on a more technical and chemical level, which I hope I'm remembering correctly, salt is a toughener. When you add it to things like cakes and breads, it actually helps the texture of whatever you're baking be more firm. And I'm not sure chemically why that's so, but it is. We could ask Mr. Science if he wasn't taking a nap.
Well, he's sleeping. Salt and baking powder, when they react, will do a great deal to making your dough rise.
We just take it on faith because I'm a liberal arts major and she's a
Fine arts major.
no math here. Oh, what does it smell like? Oh, now this has got that wonderful almondy. Notice I didn't say buttery, which is which is a drinking cue if you're watching any of my old cooking shows. Buttery, nutty, gotta take a swig of something, hooch. No, this is almondy.
The reason it's so wonderful is because of the way it tastes. It's got a very rich, deep almond flavor, and that's because of the almond paste. And it also has a wonderful texture because of the almond paste.
Now, you said almond paste. Now, that's not the same as marzipan, right?
No, it isn't. And be very careful when you're buying almond paste that you don't buy marzipan for this project. Marzipan is a candy, and it's just not going to work in a dough. It's got a lot more sugar in it.
And I notice you're using your teeniest scoop, and you're making these little beautiful rounds. They look like little balls almost.
Yes, I've tried every size of scoop for this cookie, but it's a very rich cookie, and I think that small is best. You'll notice that all of the cookies we've chosen to do on this show are small. They're very elegant. They're very intensely flavored. None of these great big flavorless Frisbee type cookies.
For comparison, these are store-bought, huge, the size of dinner plates. If you don't have a cookie scoop, the thing that you can try to do, and this is a little difficult, is you want to estimate how much dough is in a cookie. Take it out. This needs a little bit more. See, this can be a little tricky. And then roll it in your hands. And we'll just add that to our thing. Now that's just about the same size, but if you had to do that many, many times over, you may find that your cookies come out a little uneven. So the scoop is just a really easy, simple way to get consistency. And one reason that consistency is so important is because of baking time. If you've got cookies of different sizes, then they're not going to be done at the same time. I remember when I was a kid and I made a batch of peanut butter cookies.
Yes.
And the recipe said makes 24. And so I made 23 of these little teeny cookies, and then there was this bowl of batter left over. And the recipe said makes 24. So I took the whole rest of that batter and made one enormous cookie with it. So there was one the size of, it was huge.
Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Well, this recipe yields approximately 80 cookies of this size.
We got our preheated 350-degree oven.
These are wonderful with a bowl of fresh fruit. They're also good with an after-dinner wine. It's very elegant.
So now, this wonderful next cookie we're going to do is a Viennese walnut crescent.
Sticks of butter in there.
Yeah.
And now we need 3/4 of a cup of confectioner's sugar. It's such an easy recipe.
Probably the simplest cookie we're making today. Usually when you do toast a raw nut, what you want to do is lay them out on a cookie or baking sheet in a 325 or 350-degree oven. Depending on the heat of your oven, you want to be sure and check them after 5 or 6 minutes and make sure that they don't burn, because it's really easy to let them go a little too long.
Oh boy.
That nut I'm holding is really, really pale there, and these ground nuts underneath have been toasted. You get a totally different, I mean, you can barely smell anything on this, but this has got this toasty, nutty, wonderful yum thing going on there. And the nuts, before I ground them, were so toasty and delicious that people were nibbling on them, which is why we have a little bit less than a cup.
Yes, I was going to ask you
But I
about
don't
that.
blame anyone.
No.
The crew is waving and smiling gleefully. Those nuts were good.
Yes.